The haven was never meant to be on earth. She stood at a crossroads, one he surely saw. He was sharp, observant, and he waited with endless patience for her to choose, hoping she'd choose to walk with him. It was a fork in the road. To the left, the life she'd always lived, the same kinds of friends, a comfortable, familiar misery, without him. To the right, life with him. Uncertain, unstable in a good way, full of things he had to do and places he had to go. She feared she would only be a burden. He'd said, "Walk with me. Just hang on and remind me when I get to feeling too low that there are still things to do." The crossroads wasn't a date on a calendar. It was a storm front approaching, slow, steady, inexorable. Carol first heard the full truth on a night when the pain in his back flared so badly he couldn't stand. They were sitting on the tailgate of his old truck under a sky full of unfamiliar stars. He'd driven her 3 hours out of the city to a patch of desert he owned. Away from light pollution, away from everything that could listen, he called the place the Anchor. "It's not a compound," he said, his voice rough, "not a bunker, it's a door. One that only opens one way." She waited. She had learned he never wasted words. "In the near future," he continued, "something is going to tear open above the gulf. Not a ship, not an invasion, a rip, like fabric giving way. And through it will come the ones who've already lost everything else. Refugees, not from another country. From another reality." He told her about the Dominion of polity spanning 11 worlds where dissent was rewritten out of a person's neural map, where children who asked the wrong questions were unmade, where entire cultures had been edited into silence, some had escaped. A handful of families, a few journalists, 2 orphan brothers, they were coming, not tomorrow, not next year, but soon, and hunted by things that did not bleed and did not negotiate. He looked at her then, eyes reflecting starlight that had never touched earth before. "I can build a door," he said. "I can hide it. I can keep it open. But I can't do it alone, and I won't drag you through it. You walk or you don't." That was the crossroads, spoken plain. Carol went back to her apartment. The walls still felt paper thin. Her friends texted about petty drama. Her grown children sent memes. Everything was the same. Everything was unbearable. 3 weeks later, she packed one duffel bag and left the key under the mat. She never went back. The Anchor took shape slowly in the high desert. Low adobe buildings, root cellars lined with strange shielding, a well that went deeper than geology allowed. He worked with his hands when they let him, directed others when they didn't. The first refugees came through in 1s and 2s. A woman with silver filaments instead of hair who wept at the sight of open sky. Twin boys who spoke only in harmonic clicks until the dogs licked their faces and taught them laughter again. Carol found she was good at beginnings. She could sit with someone who had never seen rain and explain thunder. She learned to cook for palates that had never tasted salt. The hunters came, of course. The Dominion was subtle. They sent adjusters seamless things wearing stolen human skins. They sent mimetic viruses that made you forget why you were fighting. He met the first adjuster at dusk. Sitting on a camp chair with a shotgun across his knees, his mutts growling. The thing wore the face of a missing hiker and tried to rewrite his allegiance with a whisper. He shot it in the mouth. Carol found him vomiting behind the barn afterward from the recoil through his ruined vertebrae. "You didn't have to do that alone," she said. "I did," he answered. "First one always has to be me. After that, we do it together." Carol never told him the full inventory of her scars. Most lived deep inside, where no light reached. The first winter after the rip opened, it was just the 2 of them, the dogs and the wind. He had overdone it again, hauling salvage shielding plates for 3 straight days. On the 4th morning, he couldn't get off the floor. The metal in his spine had shifted. He lay there, sweat pouring, teeth clenched. Carol stood in the doorway, and for a moment she almost walked away. This was the moment she'd been taught to expect, where she becomes the nurse, the servant. Instead, she knelt, slid her hands under his shoulders, and dragged him onto a cot. He tried to protest. She put her forehead against his. "You do not get to quit on me by breaking yourself. I left everything to walk with you. If you can't stand, then you teach me how to do it, and I will stand for both of us until you can stand again." Something in his eyes broke open relief, terror, gratitude. He nodded once and whispered, "Yes, ma'am." That was the first time she took the lead. The rhythm changed. He'd still overdo it, but now he'd warn her. "I'm fixing to be stupid today," he'd say. And when his body cashed the check his will had written, she was the one who coaxed him through the fire. Each time he paid the piper, she paid with him. And each time he came back upright, she grew a little taller. The refugees noticed it first. When a girl arrived clutching a rag doll stitched from the uniform of the enforcer who had murdered her parents, Carol met her at the gate. Carol sat on the ground, cross-legged, and opened her hands palm up. I was owned once too, Carol said. Different kind of ownership, same cage. No one here will ever make you kneel again. The girl sat and placed the doll in Carol's open hands. Later, Carol carried the doll to the fire and burned it. Some ghosts need to be ash before you can breathe. They came in waves after that. Each carried a different flavor of impossible grief. Carol learned their languages, spoken, signed, and silent. She also learned her own strength had limits. Some nights she woke screaming from old dreams. She'd stumble outside and find him already there, waiting with a blanket and something warm. I failed them today, she'd whisper. He never told her she hadn't failed. Instead he said, pain doesn't leave because we're kind, it leaves because we stay anyway. You stayed. That's enough for today. And she would cry then, the ugly, shoulder-shaking kind she'd never been allowed before. Years in, the anchor had grown roots. Children chased each other through gardens blooming with fruit from 6 different worlds. Carol's hair had gone silver. One evening she found him on the ridge, watching the rip in the sky flicker. The hunters were closer. I used to think surviving was the point, she said. Just get through one more day. I was wrong. Surviving is what broken things do until they remember they were never the broken part. The broken part was the world that taught us we deserved it. She took his hand. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm only afraid, she finished, of the people still waiting in cages who think no one's coming. I'm afraid they'll stop believing doors can open. He turned and rested his forehead against hers. Then we keep the door open. She closed her eyes. Then she opened them and saw the anchor spread out below, lights and windows, laughter rising like smoke. Safety wasn't a place. It was the choice to stand in the doorway, heart cracked open, and say day after endless day come through, there's room. You are not alone anymore. She was 50 when she left the old world. She was timeless when she realized she had become its guardian. And somewhere in the dark between stars, the Dominion learned a new fear, a woman who had once been broken now choosing to remain unbroken. Proof that pain is not the end of the story, only the place where some stories finally begin. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more.